Hi, this is Ken Martin, and thank you again for joining us for our weekly podcast where we discuss the issues of the week and an update on the issues to come for next week. And joining me today is David Lillehaug, who served as one of our lead counsels for our redistricting effort here, and he's here to fill us in on what happened this week and how important it was for DFLers and for the state of Minnesota. David, thank you for joining us.
Great to be with you, Ken, at the renovated DFL party headquarters.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Obviously, it was an important week, a lot of big news, and had politicals throughout the state going over their maps and crunching numbers. What did you make of the outcome from the courts?
I think we had a good week for democracy, which means we're going to have another 10 years of good years for democracy in the state of Minnesota because of what the special redistricting panel ordered this week. They issued two maps, one for the congressional seats and one for the legislative seats. The bottom line is they provided a level playing field for the parties to operate in for the next 10 years. That's good because it means that our candidates and our message will be what determines the elections rather than how lines were drawn.
That's great. And what were some of the key principles that guided the DFL proposal, and how do you see those reflected in the new maps?
Well, the first and most important proposal is the principle of one person, one vote, which is in the U.S. Constitution and in Minnesota law as well. And we got that, of course. With the congressional districts, it's even down to, the one person level. We have 8 equal congressional districts. At the state level, the judges created legislative districts that are comparable to one another within plus or minus 1%. So in the next 10 years now, everybody's vote starts out the same. The second principle is that we focused on communities of interest and making sure that minority communities did not get packed or dispersed unduly. But we're in districts where, if they want to, they can exercise some influence. So there are a number of minority influence districts created. And then third, we wanted to make sure that all parts of our state, rural, exurban, suburban, and urban, were treated fairly. And by and large, I have to say, well, of course, the court didn't do everything that we wanted. We didn't expect that. But the court's maps were fair, thoughtful, and as I say, mean that elections will be decided on our candidates' messages and their qualities, which is what we want.
How important is this process for politics and democracy? Obviously, it was conducted in a transparent way. It happens once every 10 years. But what does this mean for the future of the state? And from your perspective, as someone who participated in it, can you just share your perspective on how important this is for Minnesotans?
Well, I finished the process through about a year of litigation feeling very good about our system. Now, it is true the legislature and the governor were at loggerheads, but that's what happens when you have a Republican-dominated legislature that tried to push through redistricting maps with very little notice, very few hearings, and that in many ways looked very, very odd. And we know why they were odd. They were highly, highly partisan maps. The governor vetoed those maps. So it went to an impartial panel of 5 judges. They were appointed by the Chief Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. And when they were appointed, the general consensus was this was a panel that can be fair. These are people of varied life experiences, appointed by different governors. Collectively, they should be fair. And it felt very good on Tuesday to see their orders and their maps because they did exactly what they were supposed to. They took into account the public testimony that had been given. They took into account the principles of law that govern redistricting. And in a very cautious and considerate way, I would say they generated maps that we're going to live with for the next 10 years. So I finished this part of the process feeling pretty good about democracy.
Oh, absolutely. And as you think about the outcome here, even at a more granular level on what we have to do in terms of our party and reorganizing and making sure that we recruit candidates, was there anything you took away from just sort of a partisan angle? What did this mean for our party moving forward?
Well, first of all, the court created a number of open seats. And that's opportunity for both parties. It's an opportunity to connect with new constituents. It's an opportunity to identify really good candidates and hone our message. And that's one thing that our party activists need to be doing as they focus on the open seats. The court also paired a number of senators and members of the House, both Republican and Democrat. And, although I'm sure that's frustrating for some of the people who've been paired, what it does is create new opportunities as people decide to run in adjacent districts, as they talk among themselves and figure out who's strongest and best for the party, who can best serve the people of Minnesota. With regards to the districts that have been changed, it means that we have senators and members of the House that are going to have to reach out to new constituents. It's not the same old, same old. So, you know, there's some kind of cleansing process here almost every 10 years. And I think we're going to see that as the candidates in our party adjust to the new reality.
Well, I was really pleased with the result. We could not have done it without you and obviously the rest of the legal team and others who helped in this process. I thought the process worked really well. And of course, as you said, the courts came out with a fair map. And you know you can judge a map by its fairness and the fact that neither side is crowing and neither side got everything that they wanted at the end of the day.
No, there were 3 maps that the court was considering at each level, and the court didn't adopt any of the 3. Now, I'd like to always think you can out-lawyer the other side, but at root, it was the court that looked to principles of fairness and equity and creating that level playing field, and they did that. I'm very proud of the fact that the party undertook a mainly united effort to submit maps to the court, submit principles of law. I think we provided valuable service to the court and to the public. And there are a number of things in those orders that I think reflect the kind of position that we were taking in the litigation.
Well, I want to thank you, David, for everything you've done for the party. As most of our viewers know and folks in the DFL, David Lillehaug has been involved in a number of instrumental cases, both with the governor's recount as well as Senator Franken's recount, and now successfully guiding us through this redistricting process. I want to thank David Lillehaug for being our guest on today's podcast, and thank you for all you've done for the DFL over the years.
Thank you, Ken.
Yep.